Hello, everyone, and welcome back to what is already going to be our closing keynote of this two-day program. It's kind of sad that we're already at the end, but as the saying goes, we're absolutely saving the best for last. It's therefore my great pleasure to introduce to you Jordan Morrow, who is known as the godfather of data literacy, having helped pioneer the field by building one of the world's first data literacy programs and driving thought leadership. He is also the founder and CEO of Body Data and currently is the Senior Vice President of Data and AI Transformation for Agile One. Jordan is a global trailblazer in the world of data literacy and enjoys his time traveling the world, speaking or helping companies. He serves as the chair of the advisory board for the Data Literacy Project, has spoken at numerous conferences around the world, including Big Data Days, and is an active voice in the data and analytics community. He has also helped build companies and organizations around the world, including the United Nations, and helped them understand the concept of data literacy. When not found within his work of data, Jordan is married with 5 kids. He loves fitness and mountains, entering and racing in multiple ultra marathons. And I've been watching and following you online, and I'm always amazed at where you find the time. I'm super excited that Jordan is back with us today for our closing keynote. So give him a round of digital applause. I'm super happy you're here.
Well, thank you so much, Jan Willem. I mean, come on, it's anytime you reach out and say, Jordan, do you want to speak? My answer is probably just a big yes. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm not sure if you saved the best for last. I'm sure the agenda today was just wonderful for people and had wonderful topics. But I hope that at the end here, I can wrap us up with some ideas and thoughts around data and AI literacy. It's no secret at this point that AI has altered the world and changed things. It's no secret that data has become a lifeblood for organizations to succeed. And so this opportunity presents itself to us to harness this power, whether it is individually or organizationally. Just this week, I had a wonderful opportunity. I returned just yesterday from Las Vegas, Nevada, where I presented an over 5-hour workshop. Now, granted, there was lunch and breaks in there. I don't think people want to hear me speak for 5 straight hours, but over 5 hours on the topic of data literacy for PBS, the television station here in the States. In fact, I'm not sure if people could see it on the camera, probably not with me presenting, but I have a water bottle sitting next to me with the words data literacy on it that they gave me. And that it blows me away that all the way back in June 2016, when I started an idea that we didn't even, I shouldn't say ideas, not plural, but the idea that can't hold as data literacy would be where it is today. So I'm happy to speak with you. Let me introduce myself, and I thank you for that intro. I'll be brief with this. I am one of the first and pioneers of data literacy, and I love this space. I'm just a big nerd. I'm a published author. In fact, I'm wrapping up my 4th book here soon, which I'm pretty excited. That'll come out in the end of the year. And that one is a little bit different than my others. That one is a Business 101 book for data professionals. So I'm excited for that. I am married with 5 children, and I'm able to do a lot of what I'm able to do because my wife is a superhero. So the credit goes to her for sure. Let's start off with a funny little comic that I want to share. And the reason for this is, who doesn't want a little humor to kick us off? But I don't know how many people in the call recognize the actor that I'm standing with. His name is Brent Spiner, and he played a very certain character in Star Trek: The Next Generation. That character's name was Data. Well, my first 3 books start with B Data something. And so he signed my book to Jordan. It's Data, not Data, Brent Spiner. Now, the reality is it probably depends on where you're from in the world. If you say data or data, it doesn't matter. What matters is that data is power when we use it correctly. And hopefully we can come out with some things today that help us all use it better. But let's talk about what we're going to do for the next 25 to 30 minutes before we open it up for Q&A. I want to touch around 3 main areas. I'm going to lay a foundation. I'm going to go into what data and AI literacy are. And then I'm going to talk about what each individual and organizations, some things that either of those can do to become better with data and AI, right? It's no secret that these things are moving fast. I don't know how many people saw ChatGPT 4.0, I think it's O or 0.40 will say, for Monday, where they have a voice component of it. And the reality is these things are just going to keep coming. And I don't want us to get caught up in the hype of it all. I want us to get caught up in the applicability of it all. What can we do? How can we use it? Why do we want to use it? And then we march forward. So let's really set the tone of this data and AI landscape. Right in front of you, you're going to see a really big number. Now, this number is absolutely outdated at this point, but I'm okay to share it still because, one, look at the year on there. Next year, 2025, we are already in May of 2024. First off, holy cow, does time fly. As I get older, I turned 42 years old just 2 days ago. And as I get older, time just goes faster. But the reality is, this represents 180 zettabytes. So it's actually 180 plus zettabytes worth of data was the prediction by next year. And I would argue that ChatGPT and the launch of generative AI has made this number go up. But I don't care how much data is going to be there next year. What matters is, do we have the ability to harness that data correctly? Do we have the right tools and technology, whether it's Power BI, Tableau, or Click, whether it's generative AI or different AI tools that make our lives easier? Are we harnessing those for outcomes that either, one, empower our lives, or two, empower our organizations? And when we think about data and AI, that's really what it boils down to. Are we able to harness these things to improve our organization, or if we're using them personally, to improve our lives? Now, unfortunately, some of the statistics are not in our favor. And you see that right here. The third one down really might be one that gets me the most. According to Gartner, 20% of analytic insights will deliver business outcomes. That to me is just garbage, to be honest. I would love that number. Just imagine if we doubled it to 40% or we get to 60%. I'm not saying we have to get to 100%, but we invest a lot of money and time into data and analytics. What is it that is impeding us from turning those analytics and insight into decisions? And it could be that the next one down, the next metric down is why. According to Click, this I believe was March 2022, 11% of employees are fully confident in their ability to read, work with, analyze, and communicate with data. That is the definition of data literacy. Only roughly 1 in 10 people are fully confident there. 1 in 10. So if we're spending all this money and that's the only return we're getting, we're falling short. And we need to make sure that we not only invest in tools and technology, we invest in the skills of all those around us so that those investments produce value. But we need to be organizationally and individually ready. But what does that even mean? Well, number one, we need to have the right mindset. Disruption is a way of life. Disruption will always be there. March 2020, COVID hits. November 2022, ChatGPT becomes more widespread. 2007, the housing bubble in the US bursts. I mean, the reality is change happens. We need organizations to be change resistant or change happy. And that sounds funny. People don't like change, but we need to be quote unquote change happy so that we are harnessing change for better. And part of that is the mindset that we and organizations take to succeed. Now, what I have in front of you, when we look at that super large number that we looked at earlier, the 180 plus zettabytes, it doesn't matter how much data that is. What matters to me is the 4 rights. It should say the 4 rights of data and AI versus 4 rights of data and A, right? But AI, we need the right data and AI at the right time for the right objective with the right literacy. Sometimes Microsoft Excel works fantastic and we don't need it. And sometimes we need Jan Willem's book about the enterprise big data framework because we're building a massive strategy, right? And the reality is around things. What matters is, what is our goal and objective that the company is trying to achieve? We need to not forget that, right? Imagine jumping on a plane. I travel a lot. I have a trip a week, I think it is, between now and close to the end of June. I might have 1 week off. Now imagine I get on those planes and they don't have a compass. They don't have a direction. I might not land where I need to land. And the reality is here, we need to have a direction. We need the right data and AI, the right time, right objective, right literacy. Now, airplanes on their journeys, they pivot and they iterate and they shift according to what the weather patterns and other things maybe are directing them. We need to do the same. That's organizational readiness. Now, this evolving world of data and AI, I don't know when it or if it will ever slow down, right? I saw a picture of a toothbrush, and I don't think it was fake, that had incorporated AI. Number one, we do not need a toothbrush to tell us AI pieces, right? We don't. Just brush your teeth. But that's the reality, is this hype train of AI is here, and it is moving forward. And so we need to understand what our roles are in this world, right? Think about the second question. What is AI doing to shape the world of data and the world in general? And what does that mean for me? The fourth one down, what is the future of data technology? Will robots take my job? Yes, jobs will be lost, but jobs will be created. So what are we doing to make ourselves indispensable in our skill set? Are we learning? Are we growing? I have a book right next to me. Shout out to Sol Rashidi, who wrote the book, Your AI Survival Guide, right? Harness these things. Are you taking the time? I'm actually hopefully going to spend anywhere from 1 to 3 hours digging into her book today. So take the time to learn and study so that you're indispensable to your organization. But we have to understand there is no easy button. Sorry, I wish there was, but there's not. We can't just press a button and all of a sudden we get this. We can't just press the button and it's working. Instead, we need to take practical, intelligent steps to move forward. And this means not getting caught up in the hype that AI is bringing to the world today, not getting caught up in all of these things. But the reality is we need to jump in and take practical steps and not wait. If we're doing it right, we're not being or we're not being seduced by the hype of a tool. Instead, we are following our path with our business objectives and we say this tool will work, this one won't. So making sure that we understand there's no easy button and then we're putting practical change into place. So there are 5 things to organizational readiness: data strategy, data literacy, tools and technology, culture, and the why. Now, I could go a full workshop on these, so I'm not going to go through them all. But what I want us to understand is that for organizations to succeed, it takes more than just technology. In fact, one of these pillars, tools and tech, the middle one, is about a tool. Data strategy has people. Yes, it's going to tie to tools and all that. I get it. Data literacy is people. Culture is people. The why is helping people understand the why. So when we are doing data and analytical work, do not just purchase tools thinking this is going to drive success. Instead, practically go about it and understand the organization itself and how it moves and operates, and then incorporate data and AI into it. Now, let's pull up my data and AI driven train. The data and AI driven train is essentially, in essence, it is the purpose of data and AI. Remember, AI is only as good as the data that feeds it. So number one, we're bringing in data at companies, right? And some companies are harnessing and bringing in myriads of data. We're talking mountains of data. I'm a mountain boy. I live in Utah. If I look out the window to my left, there's a mountain. Now, these mountains of data need to come to life somehow. And I want us to think big on these things, but they need to come to life. And they're going to come to life by either a person or a machine. And they're going to do it through analytics. And there are 4 levels. And we'll talk about those in a minute. But the purpose of analytics is to drive insight and information so that through the person combined with the technology, we drive decisions and outcomes. That's it, right? A data strategy should not be complicated. A data strategy is essentially how is data going to be utilized for the business strategy. Same with AI. How is AI going to be utilized to help the business strategy succeed? That's it. Okay. Now, there are 4 levels of analytics. And again, this could be a workshop in and of itself on how these operate, etc. But let's go through it real quick. Your descriptive analytic is just that. It's description. So we're going to use the analogy of a doctor. When you go to a doctor and a doctor says you're sick, you're just getting the description, right? We want the doctor to diagnose us, tell us why we are sick, which is level number 2, diagnostic. Because then the doctor can say, you're sick, here's why. If you do this, you're going to get better. It's your predictive analytic. And sometimes the doctor gives you something external like a prescription, a prescriptive analytic to make you better. Those are the 4 levels of analytics, and there's power in them. But we need to understand, for most people, they're not going to be doing the technical work. 90 to 99% of people are not data professionals by trade or title, right? They're just not right now. Maybe I've got that. I don't have my empirical data in front of me on that. But the vast majority, if you have an organization of 10,000 employees, you might have 200 data professionals, which means you have 9,800 who are not. They are the essence of data and AI literacy. And that's where they work, is within descriptive and diagnostic mainly. And then the technical data professionals are in predictive and prescriptive. Now, all of these need to be in place, though, for an organization to succeed. Now, Gartner has the analytics maturity model. Starts at descriptive and then makes its way on up to prescriptive. And the reality is, yes, you don't want to jump at things too quick. Like, I don't want organizations jumping on AI, like with everything they've got, if their BI is not working well, right? There's a progression to it. I've run ultra marathons in the past. I'm not going to tell you to go out and run an ultra marathon probably if you have never done a 5K in your life. And so we want to make sure we're progressing through this and we're understanding it correctly. Now, oops, did I skip? No, I think I moved one of the slides. Okay. So with that, let's take an understanding and a look at defining data and AI literacy for people. Now, I don't want to overcomplicate these definitions, right? We need to just understand that this is simplicity. I think that we can overcomplicate data and AI all the time. But instead of overcomplicating it, we need to go at it practically. So let's do that. First, the definition of data literacy is the one that I use now is still the one I used at Click. And data literacy is the ability to read, work with, analyze, and communicate with data. Nothing too complicated there. Notice it doesn't say data literacy is the ability to be a data scientist. Data literacy is the ability to be a data engineer. No. What we're trying to do with data literacy is help individuals have confidence and comfort in utilizing data to help them make decisions. For some people, their data literacy might be really good question asking and turning to people who are more skilled. For others, they're really good at diagnostic analytics, and yet for others, they're good at building data visualizations. There's not a one-size-fits-all within data literacy. So when building data literacy programs, we build it through assessments and understanding skills gaps, etc. But we want to help people read, work with, analyze, and communicate with data. Not everyone needs to be a full-blown data professional, but everyone should develop confidence in data literacy skills. Now, what about AI literacy? Well, that's a really big definition. Let's not go through it all. Essentially, AI literacy to me is knowing how to effectively utilize AI and evaluate it, essentially, right? We think about prompting AI right now in generative AI and ChatGPT. That's great. But when it gives us results, do we know how to evaluate it? And do we know how to utilize it? Do we know how to make decisions off of it? Do we know if the answers are ethical? Do we know how to understand if it's hallucinated? Now, I'm going to say a quick thought about hallucination because I think AI gets a bad rap because it can hallucinate. You know what else, in essence, quote unquote, hallucinates? Human beings. Human beings, when it comes to utilizing data, will misrepresent it, will come to poor conclusions, will even lie at times. And now the only one of those that might be deliberate is the lying. Sometimes we just come to the wrong conclusion. Sometimes we misrepresent the data without knowing it. Quote unquote, we're hallucinating. The reality is we need to get good at understanding and evaluating both what humans are doing and what AI is doing. It's not just the AI that has issues here. I think we take comfort, or people maybe take comfort in attacking it in that way versus just saying, yeah, it's hallucinating. Do I have the ability to evaluate that and utilize it well? Now, AI and data are supportive things. When we look at this image, on the right-hand side, those are different areas of a business. That's what data is supposed to do. So with data and AI literacy, it should be helping feed these areas. And then the image on the left with all these circles, if I had built this to scale with all the data roles on the outside, the biggest circle would be the data consumer, i.e. the 9,800 out of our 10,000. But again, in essence, what data and AI are are supportive tools to a business strategy. It's that simple. And so we need to think about, if you're thinking about your role specifically and what you do for your career, figure out how data and AI can help you simplify your job or make smarter decisions or free up your time. That's what we should be doing. Now, benefits that come out of this come from various areas. They come in the support, they come in decision-making, analytics, automation. They help increase efficiency and effectiveness. And then at the very bottom, the reality is there needs to be urgency within individuals and organizations right now. AI is moving things so incredibly quick. When ChatGPT launched in November 2022, people were like, well, this is kind of cool. In fact, me, myself, I actually wondered, did I become obsolete in the data literacy space? And someone said to me, no, you became more important. And I agree with that. I think data and AI literacy have become even more important because of these tools can spit out all this information, but do we know how to interpret it, evaluate it, and use it? And so for us as individuals and organizations, we need to create our own competitive advantage so we find success in these things and can move things forward. Now, let's talk about how nerdy I really am. If you remember the video game on Nintendo called Zelda, it had something called the Triforce. I legitimately created the Tri-Data. I don't have the same image as Zelda. I can't get sued by Nintendo, right? But these are 3 legs of a stool. To be data and AI driven, we want to utilize data and AI for problem solving. We want to utilize it for decision making. And then we want to execute upon it. Have you ever sat on a stool that had a broken leg and thought this was a good idea? And the reality is maybe not. Instead, we want all 3 legs of the stool to be strong. It doesn't mean we need to be perfect, not at all. It just needs to mean that we are moving forward in being a data and AI driven organization, and we're improving and learning when we mess things up. So how do we do that, right? In my last 5 to 10 minutes, how do we do this? And then we're going to open it up for Q&A. Well, the number one roadblock to data and analytical success is going to be people, right? It really is. It's not, I mean, I understand if you don't have good data, if you don't have good tools, sure, those are roadblocks. But you could have the best tools in the world. You could have the best data in the world. And you could have a workforce that doesn't want to use any of it. And if it doesn't, good luck. So instead, we want to help the culture thrive with data and AI. And how do we do that? Well, number one, we need to create data fluency and AI fluency. We need people speaking a common language around these. If most people don't go to school for these things, how in the world can we expect them to succeed with these things? We've got to empower them with skills. Number two, we need to have an iterative mindset. The culture needs to be built on iteration, that if things don't go the way that we want, we learn from them and we move on. The DNA of data. We don't need everyone to be a data scientist. We want to weave the DNA of data throughout the organization. We want a data community in the organization. That community is where people can go and feel free to ask questions, to learn and grow, to share thoughts and doubts, and to just learn. Data community matters. So at your organization, figure out where you can build a data community. 5th one down, I do not like the phrase fail fast. And the reason I don't is I don't think organizations really buy into it. How many organizations do you know after someone has worked on a project for 6 months and it was a big project and it didn't go the way they wanted, gets a big bonus? For me, I wish they would bonus that. Because instead of looking at what the outcome was, one of the outcomes they should be looking into is what learnings do we have throughout it. And if it went completely sideways, maybe those learnings help us prevent it in the future. So I like learn fast. There's a quote by Nelson Mandela, hero of mine, absolutely such a big hero of mine. And he had a quote that says something to the effect, I never lose. I either win or I learn. Now, I might have messed up a word or two in there, maybe more, but the premise is there. Data and analytics is I never lose. I never fail. I either succeed or I learn. And then finally, data skepticism. We should be questioning everything. It doesn't mean things are wrong. It just means we're asking questions. Oh, could we have visualized this different? Why did you choose that analysis? Why did you decide on this decision? Just question things. And I want you to be available and okay with having your work questioned. So often we don't want our work questioned. Well, we need to. Now, personal pillars for your own personal learning in data and AI. Have ongoing skill enhancement and learning. Change and adaptability. We have to change and adapt. I've been in my new role at Agile One since February 1st, and I already feel or think that my data and AI strategy is pivoting that quick. We should be changing and adapting. We need to have solid understanding of business principles and how data and AI apply to it. We need great communication skills and interpersonal skills, those soft skills, and seek mentoring and guidance. One of the speakers today, Dylan, I believe he was maybe the first speaker, one of the first speakers today. I've helped and mentored him. And not only do I mentor him and he's my mentee, but he's a buddy at this point. And so you want to find guidance. You want to find mentors and people that can help you succeed. Now, one of the key things, oh, shoot, sorry, I didn't notice that didn't size in there well. But you need a change management playbook for success. You absolutely do. Change management is key to data and AI. Without it, we might be falling short because every time we build new dashboards, there could be change. Anytime we buy a new tool, there could be change. Anytime we implement a new learning program, there could be change. Are we managing it well so the organization can succeed with it? Now, for success, I want you to start with these 3 things. My 3 C's of data, and now call it data and AI literacy: curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking. If you or people you know need to start somewhere, it's right here. Ask more questions with curiosity. I have 5 children. How many questions do you think I get on a regular basis? I also want to be creative. Oh, by the way, on curiosity, I don't know what it is. Children by far are the best data literacy detectives. Have you ever watched them learn? They're always figuring stuff out. And then we become adults and we stop figuring things out. We just do things. Let's start figuring things out again. Creativity. We need to be creative. And AI, I think, lets us be creative. So use it. Critical thinking. We need to free up our time, schedule and time block time in your day to critically think on data and information. Now, one thing that I want to emphasize as we get near the end here is that we are balancing the scale between the human element and the data element. We are not eliminating the human here. What we want to do is we want to combine the power between the human and the data and the AI. We want that to be the case. I want you to prompt AI and get answers and then apply your human element to it. If I'm building a workshop, I may use ChatGPT or a different one like Claude and dig into and say, write me an outline for this workshop. And then I go in and I modify it or I improve it and I do things differently. But we need to be doing that. We need to balance the human and the data element. Now, here is how we're going to wrap up my 5-step plan to be more data and AI driven. Your first step is to not buy a tool or technology. It's not to buy a book. It's to figure out what outcome you want to achieve. What is it that I am trying to achieve? Set that outcome. Number 2, you build a strategy to help that outcome succeed. And I really want you to focus on the structure of that strategy. Right? I think New Year's resolutions, people set them and then they lose them. One big reason is it's not that I don't think they had a desire to accomplish whatever it was they wanted. No, what I think is occurring is they didn't structure it very well. So in order for your outcome to succeed, I need you to structure things, build a strategy. 3rd bullet point in, I want you to arm yourself. What is it I'm wanting to do? And do I have the tools to make it happen? For example, if I'm trying to build muscle and work out, do I either 1, have the proper weights and everything, or 2, do I have access to the gym that is going to allow me to do it? Right? You can't just wish for something to happen. You need to have the tools there. And if it means investing, well, shoot, invest in yourself. Number 4, do I have the skills to make it happen? Oh my goodness. If I buy weights and I'm just starting off and I'm trying to curl 50 pounds in each arm, yeah, I might not have the skills to do that. So did I arm myself with the right tools? Same with data and AI. It could be that, man, I'm not even very good at Microsoft Excel, but I am jumping into this heavy duty Alteryx and trying to learn data science. No, train yourself appropriately. And then number 5, create the environment to make it happen. What environment is going to help you succeed? And then seize upon it. With that, I will recommend connecting with me. I am an open book. In fact, I apologize to her name. I had someone reach out to me and say they're looking forward to this message here today. I appreciate that. Connect with me on LinkedIn. These are my books. Be data literate, be data driven, be data analytical. Invest in yourself. Might not be my books. There's great books out there like Sol Rashidi's. Ben Jones has books. Sign up for webinars. But seize the opportunity that is presented to you to do these things. Because when you do, you can find greater success. So with that, I'm going to say a massive thank you. There's my email at the bottom. A thank you to the Enterprise Big Data Framework for Big Data Days 2024. I hope you're seizing the opportunity not just to listen to these sessions, not just to follow Big Data Days and Enterprise Big Data Framework, but to network with people around you so that you develop the network for your success. So with that, Jan, Willem, I'm going to send it right back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jordan, for once again giving a very, very inspiring talk. For everyone who's listening, Jordan just showed the books, and right after we moderated some of the questions, we're going to give away one of those. We have a lucky draw that will be going live. So stay on for a few more minutes, and you might be the lucky winner of this book from Jordan, and we'll ship it over to your address. We have quite a number of questions coming in. I'm going to start with one of our most active participants, Katina Nguyen, and I think she's actually logging in from Japan, where it's now around 10, 11 p.m. And she's been active throughout the whole conference very much. I'm going to start with this question. What's your perspective on countries and cultures that exhibit strong resistance to change, like Japan? Many companies here are still using fax machines instead of email.
Boy, like for me, one of the things I would love to be able to just send a fax and just show my kids. This was email back in the day, right? Yeah. It's very difficult, Katina, based on culture sometimes. You're exactly right, because it is ingrained, not in just the business culture, but the way of life. And so what I would say is as long as you're moving forward, you are moving forward. And that's the key. Start small and provide proof of concept wins. So for example, at your organization, you might be sitting there and like, man, how do I get this going? Well, create 3 to 4 or 5 projects that are data and AI wins of some kind and start to celebrate those wins in the organization. If you're looking at change and you're wanting to do the big data and AI change, start small. And it might be, well, we're just going to implement 3 new dashboards and a decision-making framework. So you're starting small, but you're moving things forward. Finally, one of the key things that organizations can do when they are experiencing resistance is to bring in an outside voice. It can be very difficult internally to get people to just buy in and say yes when they work with you all the time. Hire people like myself or others who can come in and really set the tone, like a message like this one, on why these things are necessary. Hopefully that helps a little bit, Katina.
Absolutely. Well, it already helps me. So, and I think the cultural aspect that you're referring to, that's one of the most difficult aspects to tackle, I think.
Absolutely. Buy-in is essential, and it is so hard when buy-in gets hindered. And so trying to get that buy-in is key.
Good. Let me go to another one. And this question is asking, how do organizations start to adopt or adapt AI to their departments? I mean, how do they start? And yeah, that's a good question.
It's a great one. Find applicable use cases. And what I mean by this is there is a great book out there by Mustafa Suleyman and Michael Bashkara. I think, hopefully I'm saying that right. It's called The Coming Wave. And in it, there's a term they use, and it's ACI. We've heard of AI, and you may have heard of artificial general intelligence, AGI. In the middle there is something called ACI, artificial capable intelligence. And so for this question, how can companies or departments figure out where to start? Figure out a use case or two. For example, I'm testing out AI products at my company. I'm not going big. I'm not going directly into these big predictive modeling models and all this. Nope. I'm going to test generative AI on our big SharePoint site to simplify things for people. That is a simple solution to test it, proof of concept, and roll it out. Because when I was starting off, trying to find things on a SharePoint can be difficult. But what if I have a generative AI model that sits on top of it? I'm able to just ask it questions and it gives me my response. And so it's that same thing here. In your department or the departments at your organization, find small use cases where you can apply this and then do it. and then test it. The key is to test. Don't hesitate on it. Don't wait and say, oh, our data's not ready. Yeah, data might not be perfect, but get going. Just find a use case or two here and there that can help you to do it.
Just take a first step. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, correct. Good. Then the next question is also receiving a lot of votes. I'm going to project that. This question is coming from Suhaimi Zainal Abidin, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And he's saying, data sharing is important in establishing a data-driven agenda. However, the skepticism in sharing data hinders the way forward. How do we motivate and create openness of importance of data sharing and seizing the abundance of data sharing opportunities?
That's a great question, because there is a lot of fear. Can I share this piece of data? Or there's a lot of protectionism. This is my data and I don't want to share it out. For me, you've got to build data literacy. And your program can be, the part of your program can be access, governance, and sharing of data. All of those are key. And so part of it, I think when people struggle to share data, it's going to be a lack of data literacy in a sense that makes it so they don't want to share it. They don't understand how they can share it. They don't understand who can have access, all of that. So a part of what you should be building into a data literacy program is knowledge base around data governance, why data governance matters, why certain people have access to data and why others don't, that sort of thing. And so ensure that as a part of your data literacy program. People fear what they don't know, and people probably, or I shouldn't say probably, in some cases are hesitant to do things because they don't know what outcome it's going to deliver, right? Yes, someone might be asking for data and they want it for insight, but they break a rule or a regulation or something and it causes problems. And so that growth in knowledge and data literacy is key around data governance and how can we share this out. It's really interesting to me, by the way, that with this growth in AI, we've kind of gone backwards into data governance and data management, because without that, and by the way, your book, Jan Wilhelm, people should read, but it's this, hopefully we get you a couple sales today.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's, we have to understand how data is processing in order for AI. And I'm not telling everybody to learn data governance and management, but the principles of it and why it matters to them matter. And so for this question, build data literacy learning around these things. And it doesn't take much. It could be webinars or things like that.
Great. With your permission, I'm going to do one more question, and then after we're going to go to our lucky draw. So the next question is coming from Ami Gill. How do you perform cost-benefit analysis between implementing AI tools within current SaaS packages versus customized training and business data with ML models and API integrations, etc.?
It's a very good question, and the way I would attack this one is quite literally, just to test.
Okay.
Right? Like for me, I will never tell a company to build their own large language model, first off. I hope no one is trying that. You can just get them off the shelf now and save some money.
Yeah.
But to your point, for example, my company, let me tell you a part of our strategy. A part of our strategy is our partners. If they're already utilized, Agile One works in total talent management, and we have suppliers giving us candidates. If they're already utilizing AI, why in the world would I need to invest in it unless I see a real purpose? No, I'm going to partner with them because they're already doing it, or build an API connection right to what they already have. You're exactly right. And then in some cases, I'm testing directly. So I'm looking at a company right now where we're going to test it out with our SharePoint. We're a big Microsoft shop when it comes to like our data and all that. So we have Fabric and Purview coming on, I believe. We got Copilot built into Power BI. Not going to go beyond that. Yeah. I'm going to harness it to try and figure out the budget. Doesn't mean that we don't need to invest. There has to be investment budget. It just needs to be intelligently done. And so I would say on that is it's a give and take. And sometimes you might go one solution and find very quickly that it was too expensive.
Yeah.
You cancel the project, right? Do not try and kick it down the road and try and salvage it. Instead, have the awareness to say, you know what, this wasn't right. And part of that, of course, is going into the project, investing in it. There's a clear communication to everybody that we are evaluating this, and if it doesn't work, we may need to pivot. Yeah. So they're not shocked that they just spent this money and then it doesn't work. So that's that change management approach. And my final thing I'll say, and it's not to this question, but anybody who's questioned was not answered, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and I will answer them through there.
Thanks, Jordan. That's very, very kind, and I strongly suggest everyone to do that. We'll put his LinkedIn into the chat in a second, and then you'll be able to do that. So just for everyone to note, first of all, I'd like to thank you, but there's also a quick opportunity for you to learn a little bit more, because we are giving away a copy of Jordan's book, Be Data Literate, basically all the things he just talked about and many more. I've been one of the people who actually read it cover to cover, so I strongly recommend this to anyone. And the way that we've done this is we have made this year a bit of a wheel. The names are so small because we have over 800 people in the conference. But if the demo works right, this should be working. So give me a quick second to activate this. And there it goes.
That's pretty cool, I've got to say.
That's cool, right?
Absolutely.
And the winner of the book is Nurfaiza Binti Ali, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Oh, I think she's, yeah, maybe she's even in the call right now. So we have the contact details of everyone who's registered. So if you just saw your name pop up, then we're going to be sending a copy of that to your address. And on that note, before we say goodbye to Jordan, please note for everyone else, we're going to do the closing of the conference on the hour, so in 20 minutes from now. And then we're also, again, giving away the prestigious Big Data Awards. We've had so many registrations from individuals and companies this year. So it's been a very close contest, and the winners will be announced in only 17 minutes from now. So stay on for the closing of the conference and some closing remarks. With that, Jordan, I once again want to thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you at Big Data Days, and I'm sure we're going to connect again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.